Hello students, a very warm welcome to my ecology classes. The topic for today's discussion is biodiversity. Biodiversity is one of the most important topics to be covered under ecology, right? We will talk about what is biodiversity, what are its different types, different threats to biodiversity. So these are the topics that we are going to talk about today. What's that? First is biodiversity, its elements, types of biodiversity, megadiversity, and threats to biodiversity. So let's proceed. Biodiversity is actually biological diversity. Okay, biodiversity is nothing but biological diversity. Okay, the father of biodiversity, Edward O. Wilson, or you can call him E.O. Wilson, first coined this term in the year 1986, right? Diversity is a big concept, something great. Diversity is a vast concept that refers to the range of variations or differences among some set of entities. Diversity doesn't always mean it will have to be biodiversity. Why biodiversity? Because we are talking about the diversity or variations that are found in biological world. That is why we call it biodiversity. Diversity can be associated with any other things, right? So biological diversity thus refers to varieties within the living world. Living world, that is why biodiversity. Okay. All right. Now let's see. So this term is actually considered as an umbrella term that refers to organisms found within the living world. Fine. It is commonly used to describe the number, variety of life and variability of living organisms. Fine. So we will cover the number, variety of life and the variability of living organisms. Fine. So you see biodiversity, see here, biodiversity tends to be higher in the tropics than in cold polar regions, meaning that in the tropics there are the most species, more genetic data. What is more or maximum available? Most species, more genetic data and more complex ecological interactions. Fine. See, why is it so? Why less number of organisms found in the polar regions? As we all know, the ambience in the polar region is harsh. Life is difficult over there. On contrary, life is very smooth in the tropical region. The climatic condition is good. Cultivation or availability of food is better. The availability of water, availability of food, everything is better over here. So life is smoother in the tropical region. Fine. Still, even the coldest, darkest regions from the polar seas to the deepest caves are rich in life forms. Don't think that it is life is very difficult for human beings over there. It means there will be no living organisms there. Of course, there are multiple thousands and thousands of living organisms there as well. Fine. Next, what do we have? See, the predicted number of total species varies from 5 to 50 million. 5 to 50 million and averages at 14 million. Fine. Out of the total known species, about 60% are insects, 16% are higher plants, and only, see how, what a meager percentage, only 0.3% is mammals. Okay. The most unique feature of Earth is the existence of life, and the most extraordinary feature of life is its diversity. Life, life is there only on one particular planet, that is Earth. That is why probably it is so very beautiful, isn't it? It's our responsibilities as well to keep it as beautiful as it is. We can enhance its beauty, but we have got no actual right to tamper with its beauty. Correct? Biodiversity, and see what makes it so beautiful is its diversity. If it is same everywhere, it would have been very, very monotonous. The diversity adds a spice to it. It makes it more beautiful. Correct? Biodiversity is normally treated in terms of genes, species, and ecosystem. So biodiversity is studied under three major heads. What are they? The diversities in genes. What are the different types of genes available? Diversity in species, that is different types of species available, and ecosystem. In correspondence to what? In correspondence with three fundamental hierarchical levels of biological organization. The three diversities are referred as genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Okay. Now we'll talk about the types of biodiversity. As I've just said, genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Yes. What is genetic diversity? Very briefly, if we say, what is this? The differences in DNA among the individuals. Okay. The component, the difference in the genotype, the difference in the gene makeup among the individuals comes under genetic diversity. Okay. Species diversity, the variety of species in a given area. And what is ecosystem diversity? It is a variety of habitats, ecosystems, and communities. Fine, like you have aquatic ecosystem, desert ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem, among aquatic freshwater ecosystem, marine ecosystem. So variety of habitats like terrestrial habitat, water aquatic habitat, like that. Different types of habitats, ecosystem, communities, like this. Fine. So to start with, we have genetic diversity. Okay. So what is it? It is basically what? See, it is basically the variety of species expressed at the genetic level by each individual species. No two individuals belong to the same species. See, follow this. No two individuals belonging to the same species are exactly similar. Think of you and your sibling. You both belong to the same species, but are you exactly similar? Even the identical twins are also not exactly similar. Forget about other individuals being in the same species. No two individuals belonging to the same species can be exactly similar. For example, in the species of human beings, each human being shows a lot of diversity in comparison to another human being. Don't have to take such big examples. Think of you and your brother, you and your sister. You belong to the same family. You are the children of the same mother and father. You belong to the same community, but then also there are thousands and thousands of differences among you too, isn't it? People living in different regions show a great level of variation. Okay. So this is brought about, these differences are brought about by different genetic makeup. Fine. Now see. Now see. It is also referred to as the diversity within species or intra or infra-species diversity. Fine. I hope this part is clear to you. Fine. It encompasses the components of genetic coding that structures the organisms. Okay. What actually gives us a structure? It is our genetic makeup. Correct. So what is that? Nucleotides, genes, chromosome, all these, and variation in the genetic makeup between individuals within a population and between populations. Fine. Look at it very carefully. What is this? What is it trying to tell you? It encompasses the components of genetic coding that structures organism. Okay. And variations in genetic makeup. The variation in genetic makeup can be what? Genetic makeup between individuals within the same population and between the population. Two different populations can be considered, or in the population, different individuals can be considered. Fine. The variation could be in alleles, which are different variants of the same gene. Alleles are, you all know, you must have studied in genetics, they are variations of the same gene. Fine. In Mendelian genetics, you had studied that, no, capital T, small t for tallness and dwarf. You all know that. You all know that. In entire gene, the traits determining particular characteristics, or in chromosomal structures. Okay. This enables a population to adapt to its environment and to respond to natural selection. Fine. What is it doing actually? It enables a population to adapt to the given environment and to respond to natural selection, which is very, very important. All right. Next, see, if a species has more genetic diversity, it can adapt better. So genetic diversity is rendering a particular organism to be more, to adapt better to the changed environmental conditions. Lower diversity in a species leads to ununiformity. Okay, and the amount of genetic variation is the basis of speciation. Correct. So evolution of new species can come if there is enough genetic variation. So genetic variation forms the basis of evolution of new species. Genetic variation will lead to this. Fine. It has a key role in the maintenance of diversity at species level. Fine. See, genetic diversity within a species often increases with environmental variability. It can be measured by methods based on DNA markers like RFLP, PCR, RAPD. All these processes help in measuring this particular genetic diversity. Okay. Now see this population of giraffe. These are all giraffes, right? But you see the variation, you see the differences, you see the variety available here, right? Next, we come to species diversity. Okay. See, it is a biodiversity observed within a community. So it is observed where? Within a community. It stands for the number and distribution of species. The number of species in a region varies widely depending upon the varied environmental condition. It depends, okay, upon the varied environmental condition. Fine. For example, it is usually observed that civilizations residing beside rivers or water bodies show more species than one compared to the areas away from water bodies. You must have studied this in your junior classes that all civilizations started forming or building up or blooming near water bodies. Why? Because life is water. Water is life, as we all know. Life, sustenance of life is impossible without water. Water is indispensable for life. That is why more and more civilization grew up near water bodies. Fine. As species diversity is seen in natural and agricultural ecosystems, the total numbers of different species of plants and animals located in an area from this type of diversity, form this type of diversity. Okay, it is believed that there are about 5 to 10 millions of species in the world. However, only 1.7 million of those species have been named scientifically so far on Earth. So there are so many yet to be discovered, right? So much of exploration is yet needed. Some areas have more species than others, right? Areas with more species diversity are generally referred to as hotspots of diversity. So what are hotspots? Hotspots are places where species diversity is more. The more species found within the area, the more diverse the area is called. So we called an area to be more diverse if more number of species are found. Okay, making the more biodiverse ecosystem, right? See, it encompasses the taxonomic hierarchy and its components from individuals upwards to species, genera, and beyond, right? The simplest measures of species diversity is the simplest measures of species diversity are what? Species richness and species evenness. SR stands for species richness and SE stands for species evenness. So a sum total gives the simplest measure of species diversity. So SR plus SE is giving you what? Species diversity. Okay. What is species richness? This is very important. Please take a note of it. The number of species per unit area. Number of species per unit area is species richness, and species evenness is what? The evenness in number of individuals of each species in the area. Correct? Is that clear? Okay. Generally, greater the species richness, greater is species diversity. This line is, I'm just highlighting this line. You will never ever forget this. Okay, you will never forget this line. What is this? Greater the species richness. What is it then? Greater is the species diversity. Again, I'm telling, greater the species richness, greater is the species diversity. All right. This is one of the pivotal point of biodiversity. You will have to remember this. Next, we come to ecological diversity. What is this? It defines the diversity observed among ecosystems in a particular region. So what is it doing? It defines the diversity observed among ecosystems in a particular region. Okay, different ecosystems like mangroves, rainforests, deserts, etc. show a great variety of life forms residing in them. Fine. What next we have? See, it deals with the variations in ecosystems within a geographical location and its overall impact on human existence and the environment. Fine. Next, what do we have? Ecosystem diversity addresses the combined characteristics of biotic properties, or that is biodiversity, and abiotic properties, that is geodiversity. Very simple. See, look at this picture very nicely. This needs observation. While you are looking at this video, listening to this video lecture, pause here. I'll not wait here because time constraint is there. I'll not wait here. I'll move on. You just pause it and take a note of it. And tell me in the comment section, what did you observe? Fine. Now see, ecosystem diversity has got three components to it. Alpha diversity, right? Beta diversity and gamma diversity. Fine. What is that? What is alpha diversity? It is the diversity within a sample, within a given sample. Fine, these terms have been coined by Whittaker in the year 1960. Just know his name. Whittaker has brought to us these terms. Okay. What is alpha diversity? It's the diversity within a sample. The coverage area is small. Beta diversity is what? Diversity associated with changes in sample composition along an environmental gradient. This is important. Along an environmental gradient, the diversity that is associated with changes in sample composition along an environmental gradient. In simplest word, it is between samples. It is here, it is within one sample. This is between samples. Okay. Next is gamma diversity. What is that? Diversity due to differences among samples when they are combined into a single sample. So different samples are combined to form a single sample here. This tells us something about how samples are collected, not about communities in nature. It tells us about how samples are collected. It is not telling us about communities in nature. All right. Yes. So next we come to megadiversity. What is that? 17 countries which have been identified as the most diversity-rich countries of the world with a particular focus on endemic biodiversity. Which are they? United States of America, Mexico. Okay, which countries are those? Let's see. United States of America, Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Venezuela, Brazil, Democratic Republic of Congo, South Africa, Madagascar, are India, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, China, and Australia. Okay. Megadiversity describes countries with very high level of biodiversity. Okay. 12 of the megadiverse countries, including India, contain about 75% of Earth's total biodiversity. Okay, the term megadiverse country refers to any one of the group of nations that harbor the majority of Earth species and high numbers of endemic species. Okay, what are endemic species? Endemic species are those species which are confined to a particular area and could not spread to other regions because of multiple reasons like physical barriers, genetic mutations, all these things. Fine. Find out where is your country, where is our motherland, India? See. Yes, 6th position. Again, pause and see where is India. Okay. See, India is a mega diversity nation. You have habitat diversity, you have cultural diversity, so much of variations are there in our country. From east to west, from north to south, you have a rich diversity to enjoy, to cherish, right? See, the mega diversity country concept is based on 4 premises. What are they? The biodiversity of each and every nation is critically important to that nation's survival, very important for the survival point of view, and must be fundamental component of any national or regional development strategy. Next, biodiversity is by no means evenly distributed on our planet. We all know that it's not evenly distributed, and some countries, especially in the tropics, harbor far greater concentrations of biodiversity than others. Third, what do we have? Some of the most species rich and biodiverse nations also have ecosystems that are under the most severe threat. And fourth, what do we have? To achieve maximum impact with limited resources, conservation efforts must concentrate heavily, obviously, but not exclusively, on those countries richest in diversity and endemism and most severely threatened. We'll have to look into it as early as possible. Resources invested in them for conservation should be roughly proportional to their overall contribution to global biodiversity. Okay. See, now coming to threats to biodiversity, there are plenty. The global change in factors responsible for biodiversity results into loss of biodiversity. And this cat will get tired noting these factors. What are they? Land conversion, greater climatic changes and global warming. We are all worried about this, isn't it? Pollution. Oh God, nothing more to be said about this. We all know a lot. Exploitation of natural resources, interference of ecosystem by alien species, habitat destruction, genetic manipulation of species. Okay. Next, see what do we have? What are those about the primary one? What are the secondary causes? Exponential growth of population, uncontrolled exponential growth of population, unsustainable patterns of consumption. We don't know where to stop. We waste. We don't know how to, we don't have the concept of using as much as we need. We'll always take something, grab something extra and then waste the rest of it. So unsustainable patterns of consumption, increased waste production, urban development and international conflict. Fine. Next, what do we have? We have what is biodiversity hotspot. Biodiversity hotspots are regions that are both biologically fertile. Okay. That means what? Rich distribution of plant and animals and highly threatened, of course. Sorry. In other words, such biogeographic regions are very productive and are constantly exposed to threats of destruction, which warrant the need for them to be protected. Fine. Examples of biodiversity hotspots are forest habitats, as they constantly face destruction and degradation due to illegal logging, pollution, and deforestation. See, according to Mayer's in 2000 edition of the hotspot map, a region only qualifies as a biodiversity hotspot if it meets 2 criteria. What are the 2 criteria? First is it must have at least 0.5% or 1500 species of vascular plants as endemics. Fine. Those found nowhere else. I told you endemics are confined to one particular place and they don't spread elsewhere. So it should not be found anywhere else. Secondly, what is it? Second point, it must be threatened coupled with a loss of at least 70% of its primary vegetation. Approximately 36 regions around the world qualify as biodiversity hotspots, and they support just 60% of the world's bird, reptile, mammal, plant, and amphibian species, with the majority of these species as endemics. Fine. See, take a note of this. Learn the names and where they are found, the names of the countries. All right. Try to remember this as much as possible. Write them again and again so that it becomes your habit. Practice it. Always remember, practice leads you towards perfection and it makes you perfect one day. Okay, so this is how we come to the end of our lecture. I hope you have enjoyed it. What is our take-home message? Biodiversity is love. Biodiversity is life. Okay. Try to implement these lectures in your practical life. Give your little contribution to save Mother Earth. Anyway, thank you so much for attending this lecture. If you have any doubts, any confusion, please get back to me in the comment section. Stay connected. Till then, thank you and goodbye.